An utterly bizarre incident occurred recently, and I can't keep it to myself. My best friend barged into my dorm room and caught me in a situation I'll never forget. You probably realize that dorm room privacy is merely a myth. You believe you're on your own, finally able to exhale, especially after a taxing day. But then life, without warning, has other plans. My roommate and closest confidant is Jack. He's the type who never gives a heads up before arriving, frequently crashes here, and behaves like he possesses the place. We've shared a room since freshman year. By now, I assumed we understood every detail about one another, our habits, routines, oddities. It all began on a Tuesday, a perfectly ordinary day that turned extraordinary. Jack had said he'd be out giving a lecture, then meeting up with his study group. He was supposed to be gone all evening. He even left earlier than usual, throwing his bag over his shoulder like he meant business. I figured I had the whole dorm to myself. So, I did what anyone would do when they're alone for once. I got comfortable, really comfortable. Socks on, no clothes, lights low, music off. It wasn't anything weird. I just enjoyed the quiet, the softness of the sheets, the cool air brushing my skin. Felt like peace, a rare kind of freedom. I laid back on my bed, phone in hand, scrolling through memes and music, totally relaxed. I thought the door was locked. There were some muffled laughs from the hallway, the hum of my fan, and just general dorm noise. Nothing unusual. Then came a sound, faint, a soft jingle of keys, a click. I thought it was someone next door, so I ignored it. But then the door handle turned and I didn't move fast enough. The door swung open. A burst of light flooded the room and there was Jack halfway through saying something I couldn't hear because I was too busy realizing I was completely naked. Frozen, him and I both. He stood in the doorway, one foot inside, mouth slightly open, eyes wide like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Time just stopped. My body felt like it was on fire, my heart pounding in my chest. Every part of me suddenly aware and exposed. I stared at him. He stared at me. No one moved. No one spoke. He blinked first, then muttered, "I'm sorry." But his voice wasn't steady. I grabbed for the blanket, hands fumbling like they forgot how to work. I finally found my voice and shouted, "You said you'd be gone all night." Jack just stood there looking confused. "The study group got canceled," he said, more defensive than mad, still scanning the room like he'd walked into a crime scene. "I texted you," said. "Do not disturb." I snapped, still breathless from the shock. He quietly shut the door behind him, leaning against it like the weight of the moment had just hit him. His arms crossed, expression unreadable. I was still wrapped in the blanket, heart racing like I'd run a marathon. I didn't expect, he started, then stopped. "What?" I asked, trying to stay calm. He rubbed the back of his neck, his cheeks redder than I'd ever seen them. We both laughed nervously. It wasn't mocking. It was a release. He finally moved slow like I might throw something at him and sat on the edge of his bed. "I should have knocked," he said. "Yeah, you really should have," I whispered, still buried under the covers. There was a pause. Then he asked, "Is this something you always do when I'm not here? When you say you'll be gone for hours?" "Yeah," I said, not missing a beat. He nodded slowly like he was putting the pieces together. Didn't expect to walk in on a full moon. I rolled my eyes. "I'm getting a deadbolt." "Smart," he grinned. But then his face shifted. "Hey, I really am sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable." And this time he meant it. Usually Jack jokes things off, but not this time. His voice was soft. Sincerely. "I'm okay," I said, quieter now. He looked at me longer than I expected, then finally said, "Yeah, me too." There was something about the way he said it, like maybe it wasn't just embarrassment I'd seen in his eyes when he walked in. Maybe it was something else. And the truth is, as much as I was shocked, part of me didn't mind being seen. Not just physically, but really seen. That part scared me more than anything. I shifted under the blanket and cleared my throat. "Next time you change plans, maybe send a warning," he smiled. But there was something different in his eyes now. Something unspoken. Next time, he said. But he didn't leave, didn't pack up, didn't pretend we were back to normal. He stayed seated, elbows on his knees, watching me from across the room. His gaze flickered, quick glances, then away like he couldn't help it. And I sat there, too, wrapped in my blanket like it could protect me from what had just happened. But I knew it wasn't the nudity that had shaken me. It was being seen, really seen by him. He broke the silence again. It's not like I've never seen you shirtless before. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, shirtless is a bit different than totally naked. He chuckled. It wasn't mocking, just real. And then he looked at me again. And this time he didn't look away. I didn't mean to, but now I can't unsee it. Not just your body. The look on your face. The way you were just being. I held his gaze, hoping he wasn't weirded out, hoping I wasn't either. His voice dropped low, reflective. Do you usually feel that free when you're alone? The question caught me off guard. It wasn't teasing. It wasn't loaded, just honest. I wasn't sure how to answer, but I think maybe he already knew. His question didn't feel casual. It was sincere. It wasn't just curiosity. Felt like he was trying to understand me, not judge. I paused, wondering how to respond without breaking the unspoken rules between us. As we walked, I finally said something, anything, to fill the silence. Sometimes, I said, it just feels good to stop pretending for a moment. John relaxed slightly, lowering his hands. There was no pretense anymore. He always came off distant but not unfriendly. I'd noticed that after watching him long enough. I needed to understand what he saw when he looked at me, because if I'm being honest, when he first walked through that doorway, something in his eyes hit me hard. Something raw and unprocessed that made my chest tighten. But I didn't ask. Not then, not ever. Instead, I tried to shift the tone. I ran a hand through my hair like I was calm, though my heart pounded. Well, I said, we've officially reached a new level in our roommate relationship. Congratulations. You've seen everything. John gave a sly grin, eyes gleaming again. I'm adding it to my resume, he joked. I laughed, surprising myself. The tension cracked just a little, but it didn't fade. If anything, the lightheartedness only emphasized what we weren't saying. Sorry if I was abrupt, I said. I didn't mean to sound weird. He glanced at me again. His voice was lower now, quieter. It's already strange, I added, my voice softer. He raised an eyebrow as if sensing I was holding something back. I stared at the ceiling, unsure how to explain the shift in the air. My bed, I muttered. I don't know. Maybe I just need a break. You're not the only one, he said after a beat. His voice steady but thoughtful. It's exhausting sometimes, like I'm always trying to be this version of myself. The one everyone expects. Cool, confident, unfazed. But if I slip, if I falter even a little, people start wondering. Something about the way he said it made me freeze. Something was about to happen. I could feel it. I looked at him surprised. John didn't usually share things like this. When something was off, he'd hide it behind jokes or energy drinks. He wasn't one to let people in. People asked questions I asked only half joking. Sometimes, he replied. Not directly, but especially when we were roommates. It's not the kind of thing guys talk about. The room felt smaller, though we hadn't moved. I shifted on my bed, and the blanket slid a little. John's eyes flicked toward it, then quickly away, but not fast enough. Our eyes locked. This time, neither of us looked away. There was something electric in the stillness. Not tension exactly. Something else. I should probably put something on, I said, but didn't move. He didn't either. We stayed there, letting the silence stretch between us. It wasn't awkward. It was charged. That terrified me more than the earlier embarrassment had. Because this wasn't about being caught. This was about what came next. John leaned back, arms folded behind his head. He looked relaxed, but his jaw was tight. You ever think about what people don't say? He asked. I blinked. Sometimes, I think silence says more than words ever could. He continued. We dance around feelings we already share because we're too scared to speak them. His words landed like sparks on dry grass. I swallowed hard. Were we talking about the same thing? His smirk was gone. Beneath the calm surface, there was something careful waiting. I answered slowly, choosing my words. Then maybe we shouldn't ignore it. Whatever this is, he didn't react at first, just held my gaze, eyes unreadable. Then he nodded. Okay. The way he said it, it wasn't a filler. It meant something. It was a first step onto something fragile. A ledge that once crossed we couldn't come back from. In that still moment, something shifted. We'd passed a point, even if we weren't sure what that meant yet. Neither of us moved, but everything had changed. I adjusted the blanket not to cover myself, but to anchor my hands. Across from me, John sat exactly as he was, but his eyes were sharp, watching. Cleared my throat. Are we actually talking about this, or are we just circling it? John gave a soft sigh. Could have been a laugh, but it wasn't. Maybe both, he said. There was no playfulness in his voice now, just honesty. It struck me, this vulnerability. He never let anyone see this side. And yet here it was written all over him. I didn't mean to catch you off guard, he added. I wasn't trying to sneak up on you. It's fine, I replied, quieter than I meant to. It didn't feel like just an accident, though. Felt like something else. He nodded. I was stunned seeing you like that. It wasn't just about nudity. You weren't just uncovered. You were unguarded. His words landed deep. Is that a bad thing? I asked. He shook his head, numbered just rare. He looked down, and when he looked up again, his eyes were heavier somehow. Have you ever felt like we've been dodging something? Laughing too hard? Looking too long, not saying what we already know. His confession filled the air like the smell of rain before a storm. I shifted slightly, and the blanket slid even lower. John's eyes followed it briefly before snapping back to my face. He swallowed hard. I don't know what this is, he admitted. I just know I feel it like it's in my bones. What are we supposed to do about it? I asked. He asked again, but this time I understood. I nodded, heart pounding. We couldn't pretend anymore. John stood slowly, like every step carried weight. He crossed the room and stood at the foot of my bed. The desk lamp cast a golden light across his face, his shadow brushing my legs. And still, the story wasn't over. The air between us had changed. It buzzed with the edge of something dangerous and beautiful. Are we ready to fall? He asked, voice growly. I nodded. Words weren't enough. He sat next to me. The mattress dipped under his weight, and I leaned toward him, pulled by gravity and something more. His presence was warm, steady. I could feel him even through the blanket. My fingers twitched. I didn't want to move, not because I was scared of rejection, but because I was afraid of what it might mean if I did. His hand brushed against mine, light, unsure. He waited. I shifted just slightly, letting my hand find his. You sure? He asked, voice quiet but open. No, I whispered. But I want to be. That honesty broke something open in both of us. We didn't move any closer. We didn't need to. Just our hands lightly touching changed everything. In his eyes, I saw everything. Confusion, curiosity, fear, hope. And for the first time, neither of us pulled away. The tension between us was alive, thick in the air, pulsing like static before a storm. I could feel his thumb brushing softly against the side of my hand, back and forth. It was such a subtle touch, almost nothing, but enough to set my entire body on edge. I wasn't sure if I was breathing, and if I was, it didn't feel like enough. The silence that had once felt heavy now buzzed with anticipation, like even the room was holding its breath, waiting for one of us to speak or move, to finally break the fragile balance. John turned his head slightly, and I felt his gaze before I met it. His eyes weren't playful or guarded anymore. They searched me like he was trying to read something hidden beneath my skin. And when I didn't pull away, when I let our fingers stay laced together, a small smile touched his lips. Not smug, more like relieved, like something had finally clicked into place. I don't know what happens if we cross this line, he said quietly, but I know I can't go on pretending this means nothing. His words hit hard, not because they were dramatic, but because they were real. I'd carried so much silence inside me for so long, I'd almost forgotten what honesty felt like. And now, standing at the edge of something unknown and terrifying, but true, I turned to him fully. I didn't care when the blanket slipped slightly off my shoulder, revealing a bit more of my chest. He noticed. His eyes flicked down for the briefest second, but then came right back to mine, burning with something unspoken. "Have you thought about it before?" I asked, my voice a whisper. "Not just tonight. I mean us." He took his time answering. Not because he didn't know, but because he wanted to say it right. "Yeah," he finally admitted. "I have, but not in a way that made sense. You were the one thing I kept trying not to want." That hit differently, like a truth I'd been afraid to hope for. I let the quiet sit between us again, but this time it wasn't fear keeping me silent. I just didn't want to mess this up. When I looked into his eyes, I didn't see confusion. I saw nerves, sure, but also clarity. "You're not just experimenting?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. John sat straighter. I have been trying to figure this out for a while. Maybe I don't have all the answers yet, but I know I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what if. His words grounded me. I shifted closer, not away, and let our knees touch. Just that bit of contact made the air feel warmer. Our breaths matched, slow and careful. He glanced down at our joined hands. "You're shaking," he said softly. "So are you," I whispered. There was something grounding in that, our shared vulnerability. He raised his free hand, hesitating, then gently touched my jaw. His fingers trembled slightly. I leaned into it, giving him my silent answer. He shifted again, just slightly, and his thumb brushed the corner of my mouth, then rested on my cheek. It was a simple touch, but everything in me stirred. We weren't just friends anymore. We were something else now, something real. "I keep thinking," he said, his voice rough, "that one kiss could change everything." I muttered something, maybe a yes, maybe just his name, and something in him snapped. Not in a dangerous way, but in a release. His hand slipped behind my neck, threading through my hair, and he leaned in, slowly, carefully. Our lips brushed, barely, a ghost of a kiss, but it sent a shock wave through me. He exhaled against my mouth, his forehead pressing gently to mine. "Tell me if you want to stop," he said. "I don't," I breathed. This time, when his lips met mine, it wasn't hesitant. It wasn't rushed either. It was soft, slow, and full of heat. We kissed like we understood the gravity of it, like neither of us wanted to ruin it by moving too fast. But beneath that tenderness was a hunger we'd buried for too long. The kiss deepened like the tide rolling in. Steady, powerful. His hand cupped the back of my neck, anchoring me to him. I leaned in, pressing closer, like every part of me wanted to feel him, to know him. It wasn't the casual graze of knees under desks or shoulders bumping in a hallway. This was different. This was deliberate. And I opened for him without hesitation, letting his tongue meet mine in a quiet, careful dance. He didn't push, he asked, and I said yes without words. A soft sound escaped him, somewhere between relief and desperation. I let my hand settle on his waist, where his shirt had ridden up. His skin was hot. The muscles shifted beneath my touch and my fingers curled instinctively, holding on. He pulled back just enough to look at me. His eyes, dark, wide, dilated, searched mine. "Is this okay?" he asked. I nodded. But that wasn't enough. "It's more than okay," I whispered, my hand sliding up his side. "I've wanted this for so long." His expression softened. He kissed me again, more urgently now, like those words had knocked down whatever final barrier he'd been clinging to. He shifted on the bed, bringing a leg over mine so he could get closer. Not fully, not yet, but enough to make my heart race. The weight of him, the smell of his skin, the slight tremble in his hands. It all felt like fire curling through my veins. I let my hands move on instinct, one slipping beneath his shirt, the other around his waist. He tensed for a moment, but then leaned in further, his back arching into my touch. He eased me gently down onto the bed, his knee between mine, and I opened for him without thinking. The nearness, the heat, the gravity, it was too much and not enough all at once. I placed my hands on his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart mirroring my own. When I tugged gently at the hem of his shirt, he paused. His eyes met mine, asking again. And I answered with a nod, my fingers already lifting the fabric. The shirt was gone in a moment, tossed to the side. Forgotten. My eyes roamed over him. Flushed chest, taut muscles, raw energy just barely held in. But what got me most was the look in his eyes. Like I mattered. Like I was something precious. And he didn't want to break me. As things went further, I couldn't believe it was real. "You're not dreaming," he whispered, more to himself than to me. I reached up, ran my fingers through his hair, and pulled him back to me. This kiss, this one was wild, hungry. A storm finally let loose. His hands found me, hesitant at first, then bolder, tracing, learning. He was everywhere, his breath, his weight, his heat wrapping around me like waves. Every touch sparked something deeper, something primal. His mouth left mine, moving along my jaw, my throat. Each kiss is slow, reverent. I tilted my head, offering more. A gasp escaped me before I could stop it. He tightened his grip on my shoulder the moment he found that sensitive spot just beneath my ear. With the space between us gone, his soft moan vibrated through my chest. There was no awkwardness, no hesitation, just this raw, honest moment that we both surrendered to. We weren't frantic. It wasn't lust driving us. We undressed each other without a word, not to rush things, but because we needed to feel one another. Skin to skin, nothing in the way. And when we finally were, it felt like the entire room knew something sacred was happening. The air itself seemed to pulse with it. I ran my hands down his back slowly, cherishing every inch while he kissed along my collarbone, whispering things I couldn't even make out through the flood of emotion. His body pressed into mine, his hips moving gently, just enough to send sparks through me, making me arch, gasp, hold on to him tighter. It wasn't overwhelming in a way that scared me. It was overwhelming in a way that made me want to disappear into him completely. When he looked at me again, there was something soft in his eyes, something that broke me open. This wasn't just about curiosity. He wasn't here because he wanted to try something new. He was here because he couldn't not be. Like some force had been pulling us together for a long time. And now, finally, we'd stopped resisting. He placed his hands on my face and kissed me again. Harder this time, like he meant every second of it. And I felt tears rise without warning. Afterward, we went still. No words, just the sound of our breaths, the rhythm of the mattress creaking beneath us, and the quiet harmony of two people finally letting go. There was nothing to prove, nothing to hide, just peace. Felt like falling, but not in a way that hurt. More like falling into something we'd both secretly needed for a long time. We clung to each other as we came down from it all. Limbs tangled, hearts racing, and something inside me shifted. Not broken, but changed in a way that left me breathless. The next morning, everything felt aligned. Golden lights slipped through the blinds and landed in stripes across Jack's bare back. I just lay there watching him sleep, his breathing calm, lips slightly parted, eyelashes brushing against his cheeks. He looked at peace. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't some dream. It wasn't a heat of the night mistake. He had come all the way to the edge with me, and neither of us wanted to turn back. I moved slightly, trying not to wake him, but he blinked a few times, his eyes still heavy with sleep, and then smiled, a slow, shy smile that made my heart stutter. "Hey," he said, his voice still rough. "Hey," I whispered back. He stretched, then wrapped an arm around my waist like it belonged there. And maybe in that moment it did. Maybe we were exactly where we were meant to be. "I have no idea what time it is," he mumbled. "It doesn't matter," I said, and meant it. We lay there in silence, still curled under the same blanket in our quiet college room. I half expected reality to crash in to feel the weight of confusion or regret or panic about what it all meant. But none of that came. Instead, there was a strange stillness, a calm, like the world had paused just long enough to let us breathe. I meant everything I said last night, he said softly. None of it was just in the moment. I turned to him, my heart thudding. Are you sure? He nodded. I don't know what this means or where it'll go, but I know I don't want to pretend it didn't happen. Relief rushed through me so fast it almost knocked me over. Me either, I said. He kissed me again gently this time, like we were sealing something between us. Then he rested his forehead against mine and whispered, We'll figure it out. There were still so many things left unsaid about us, about what this meant for our friendship, for our futures. But none of it scared me anymore. His fingers laced through mine like they'd done it 1,000 times before. I could have stayed like that forever, just existing beside him while the world outside kept turning. When I stepped outside later, everything felt different. We weren't just best friends anymore. We weren't defined by a label either. We were something in between, something real, something to build on. I hadn't expected any of this. There was a moment just before I fell asleep when I thought maybe I'd made a mistake, that maybe I'd just ruined the most important friendship of my life. But we woke up and it didn't feel like ruin. Felt like beginning. Still, I don't know where this is going. I want to believe his words were real. I do believe him, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. I overthink things. Panic. I don't know how to let myself just be. So here I am still wondering. Should I bring it up again? Try to define this, set rules, or should I just breathe, go with it, and let whatever is meant to happen unfold naturally? What would you do if you were me? Because honestly, I could really use some advice. Thank you for staying till the very end.